I'm Madison Brooks, 28 years old. 5 years ago, my parents called my tech startup a childish fantasy and cut me off completely. Not a penny, not a call, not even a birthday text. They said I was throwing away my future by choosing code over a stethoscope. The day they stopped my tuition payment, I had exactly $73 in my bank account and 3 months left until graduation. But here's the thing about being disowned. It teaches you that sometimes the family you choose believes in you more than the family you're born into. Before I tell you how a single Instagram post changed everything, please take a moment to like and subscribe. But only if stories about setting boundaries truly resonate with you. I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now, let me take you back to where this all began. It started during my junior year at Stanford. I'd been pre-med for 3 years, maintaining a perfect GPA, shadowing doctors every weekend, everything my parents had mapped out since I was 12. But then I took a computer science elective, just for fun, I told myself. Within weeks, I was staying up all night coding, not because I had to, but because I couldn't stop. For the first time in my life, studying didn't feel like drowning. The conversation that changed everything happened over Thanksgiving dinner. "I'm switching to computer science," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. The silence was deafening. My father, Dr. Robert Brooks, set down his fork slowly. "No daughter of mine will waste her intelligence on video games," he said, each word sharp as a scalpel. My mother, Patricia, former head nurse at Presbyterian Hospital, shook her head. "Madison, we've invested everything in your future. Medical school is already lined up. The Brooks family has 3 generations of doctors." "But I don't want to be a doctor," I said. "I want to build something that matters to millions of people, not just treat them one at a time." That's when my father stood up, his face red. "Then you can build it without our money. Let's see how far your dreams take you when you're paying your own bills." I thought he was bluffing. Parents don't actually abandon their kids over career choices, right? But 2 weeks later, Stanford's financial aid office called. My tuition payment had been stopped. My college fund, 20 years of savings, suddenly wasn't mine anymore. The email from my mother was brief. "When you're ready to be reasonable, we'll talk." I had 3 part-time jobs that semester: barista at 5 a.m., tutoring until midnight, weekend shifts at Target. But there was something else too, a burning question that wouldn't leave me alone. Why did my father hate technology so much? Graduation day arrived in June, and I'd done it, summa cum laude in computer science despite everything. As I walked across that stage, I scanned the crowd for familiar faces. My assigned family section had 4 empty seats. Not even my younger sister Sarah was allowed to come. That morning, my mother had sent a single text. "Your sister graduated from medical school today. The whole family was there." The cruelty of the timing wasn't lost on me. While I was collecting my diploma alone, they were celebrating Sarah's acceptable achievement just 30 miles away. After the ceremony, I sat in my beat-up Honda Civic, holding my diploma and sobbing. Other graduates were taking photos with proud parents, going to celebration dinners, popping champagne. I had a diploma, $2,000 in savings, and absolutely no one to call. The loneliness was suffocating. But then something shifted. I looked at that piece of paper, my degree, and realized it was mine. I'd earned every credit, every grade, every achievement without them. If I could do that, what else was I capable of? That night, sleeping on my friend's couch because I couldn't afford my own place yet, I made a promise to myself. I would build something extraordinary. Not to prove them wrong. That would mean they still had power over me. I would build it because I believed in my vision. Success would be my independence, not my revenge. 3 weeks later, I started working on my first app in a borrowed garage, living on ramen and determination. 47 venture capitalists would reject me over the next year, but I only needed one yes. And sometimes, the universe sends exactly the right person at exactly the right moment. For 6 months, I lived in my college roommate's garage in Mountain View. Not a converted garage, an actual garage with a sleeping bag between storage boxes and old bicycles. I showered at the gym, charged my laptop at coffee shops, and coded 18 hours a day. My startup idea was simple but ambitious. An AI platform that could predict mental health crises before they happened, getting people help when they needed it most. The rejections came fast and brutal. Too ambitious. No proven market. Come back when you have more experience. After rejection number 32, I checked my bank balance. $73. Not even enough for next month's gym membership, which meant no more showers. I was at my lowest point, considering giving up, when I found an envelope slipped under the garage door. No name, just $500 in cash, and a note in my sister Sarah's handwriting. Don't give up. Some of us believe in you. She'd risked everything to help me secretly. If she could take that risk, I could keep going. By month 8, I'd pitched to 47 investors. Each rejection taught me something, refined my presentation, sharpened my vision. But time was running out. My friend needed the garage back, and I had nowhere else to go. The final pitch on my calendar was with Morrison Ventures, a firm I'd only heard whispers about. They invested in unconventional founders, the email said. Whatever that meant. The name James Morrison felt familiar, like a ghost from a story I'd once heard but couldn't quite place. As I prepared for what might be my last shot, I had no idea that this meeting would reveal why my father had really cut me off. Some secrets, it turns out, are worth 30 years of silence. The Morrison Ventures office occupied the entire top floor of a Palo Alto high-rise. As I rode the elevator up, I practiced my pitch one last time. 7 minutes to save my company, and honestly, my life. My hands were shaking, but not from nerves. I'd been living on one meal a day for 2 weeks. James Morrison wasn't what I expected. Silver-haired, mid-60s, with kind eyes that seemed to see right through my brave facade. He listened to my entire pitch without interrupting, then leaned back in his chair. "Brooks," he said slowly, studying my face. "Madison Brooks. You wouldn't happen to be related to Dr. Robert Brooks from Presbyterian Hospital?" My stomach dropped. Of course, even here my father's shadow followed me. "He's my father," I admitted, bracing for another rejection. Morrison's expression shifted to something I couldn't read. "I know your father very well," he said quietly. "We were partners once, 30 years ago, before he chose a different path." The room felt suddenly airless. Partners my father never mentioned. Father, no, I imagine he wouldn't. Morrison stood and walked to the window, looking out at Silicon Valley spread below. "Your father and I were developing a revolutionary diagnostic system together. We were young, ambitious, going to change medicine forever. Then one morning, I woke up to find our research published in the New England Journal of Medicine, under his name only." The pieces clicked into place. My father's sudden rise to prominence, his hatred of technology, his insistence that success had to follow his exact path. "I could have fought it," Morrison continued, "but I chose to pivot instead. Left medicine, went into venture capital, been looking for founders who forged their own paths ever since." He turned back to me. "So tell me, Madison, why should I bet $2 million on someone whose father I have every reason to distrust?" I met Morrison's gaze directly. "Because I'm not my father. I walked away from the path he built with your research. That should tell you everything." Morrison studied me for a long moment. "Your father built his entire career on my work. The diagnostic protocols that made him famous, the research that got him tenure, all of it was mine. But you know what the ironic part is? If he'd stayed partners with me, we'd both be billionaires by now. That system we developed became the foundation for 3 major medical AI companies." The weight of this revelation hit me hard. My father hadn't just betrayed a partner, he'd betrayed his own potential. "Is that why you left medicine?" I asked. "I left because I realized something," Morrison said. "Innovation doesn't come from protecting your territory. It comes from collaboration, from lifting others up. Your father never learned that lesson. He pulled out a contract. But you did. The way you credit every contributor in your pitch deck, the way you've built partnerships despite having nothing, that's what I invest in. I don't want your money because of what my father did, I said quickly. Morrison laughed. A genuine warm sound. Madison, I'm not investing in you to get back at Robert. That chapter closed long ago. I'm investing because your platform could save lives. The fact that you're his daughter who chose her own path, that's just poetic justice. He slid the contract across the desk. 2 million seed funding. But I have one condition. I want to be more than an investor. I want to mentor you. Not to spite your father, but because I see something in you that he was too blind to nurture. I signed that contract with tears in my eyes. Finally, someone believed in my dreams. The $2 million hit my account 3 days later. I stared at the number on my phone screen, sitting in that garage surrounded by empty ramen cups. More money than I'd ever imagined having, and all because someone saw potential where my parents saw failure. Morrison became more than just an investor. Every Tuesday at 7 a.m., we'd meet for coffee, not to discuss numbers or growth metrics, but to talk about vision, leadership, and the courage to build something meaningful. I invest in people who forge their own path despite the cost, he told me once. Your father took the easy path, stealing credit. You took the hard one, earning it. Within 6 months, our platform had prevented over 100 mental health crises. Real people, real lives saved. We hired our first employees, brilliant minds who believed in the mission. The garage became an actual office. The sleeping bag became an apartment. The ramen became real food. But the sweetest victory was quieter. Sarah started visiting secretly once a month, driving up from her residency in San Diego. She'd bring medical insights for our platform, and I'd teach her basic coding. Mom and Dad keep asking if I've heard from you, she told me. I just changed the subject. Do they know about the company? I asked. No, they refuse to Google you. Dad says you'll come crawling back eventually. By year 3, we'd raised Series A funding, 20 million at a 50 million valuation. 47 employees, 3 offices, and partnerships with major healthcare systems. We were featured in TechCrunch, Forbes, even the Wall Street Journal. But I kept my personal life offline, invisible. Then I made one mistake. One single Instagram post that would shatter 5 years of carefully maintained silence. Success, I learned, is sweetest when you don't need anyone else to validate it. By year 5, MindBridge AI was valued at $50 million. We had 3 offices, Palo Alto, Austin, and Boston. 47 employees who'd become like family, and we'd helped over 10,000 people get mental health support before crisis points. I'd bought a house in Palo Alto, nothing flashy by Silicon Valley standards, but it was mine. $2 million, 4 bedrooms, a real garage that no one would ever have to sleep in. The seller's agent had asked, "Will your family be moving in with you?" I'd simply answered, "I already have a family," thinking of my team. Sarah's secret visits had become our tradition. Last month, she'd brought her boyfriend, a software engineer who understood our family dynamics. They still don't know, she told me. Mom mentions you sometimes, always in past tense, like you died. Maybe I did, I replied. The daughter they wanted died, but Madison Brooks, the CEO, she's very much alive. 0 contact in 5 years. Not a single call, text, or email. Birthdays passed unmarked. Holidays spent with Morrison and his family, who'd adopted me as an honorary daughter. My success existed in a parallel universe to my parents' world. I was careful. No social media presence beyond LinkedIn, no personal photos, no details that could make their way back to them. I wasn't hiding. I just didn't see the point in sharing my life with people who'd rejected it. But that morning, something felt different. Maybe it was the sunrise hitting my living room just right, or the profound sense of peace I finally felt. I took a photo of my house, just the exterior, and posted it on Instagram with one hashtag, #selfmade. If you've ever been told your dreams weren't good enough, drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if this story resonates with you, please hit that like button. It really helps others who need to hear this message find it too. Now let me tell you what happened when that photo went viral, because sometimes the internet has plans you never see coming. Within 24 hours, that simple photo had 50,000 likes. I'd forgotten that my old Stanford classmates followed me, that tech Twitter existed, that nothing stays quiet in Silicon Valley. Business Insider picked it up. Mindbridge CEO, Madison Brooks' self-made success story. The comments flooded in. Your parents must be so proud. The American dream, from garage startup to this. But scattered among the congratulations were messages from people I'd forgotten existed. High school classmates, my parents' colleagues' children, extended family members, all suddenly interested in reconnecting. My DMs exploded with variations of, "I always knew you'd make it," from people who'd been silent for 5 years. Sarah called me, panicked. "Madison, it's everywhere." Jennifer from Mom's book club sent it to her. Dad saw it at the hospital. Someone printed the Business Insider article and put it on the bulletin board. "Good," I said, surprising myself with how little I cared. "Madison, you don't understand. They're telling everyone you're coming home for Dad's 60th birthday. Mom's already bragging about her successful daughter in tech." The audacity took my breath away. 5 years of silence, and now they were claiming my success as their own? But I wasn't angry. I was curious. What would they do next? Morrison texted me that evening. "Saw the article. Your father must be having interesting feelings right now." "Haven't heard from them," I replied. "You will," he wrote back. "Success has a way of healing selective amnesia." He was right, of course. The next morning, as I was reviewing quarterly reports, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I'd never deleted, but never expected to see again. Dad. "Congratulations, honey. Saw the article. We always knew you'd succeed." I stared at the text for a full minute. 5 years of silence broken by 11 words that rewrote history. We always knew? They'd literally bet against me. Before I could process it, another text. "Let's heal our family. Too much time has passed. Your mother misses you." Then another. "I have an exciting biotech project. Your investors would love it." There it was. 3 texts, and he'd already mentioned my investors. Not my health, not my happiness, not even an apology. Just my investors. My phone rang. "Mom." Against my better judgment, I answered. "Madison!" Her voice broke with what sounded like tears. "My baby girl, we're so proud of you. Why didn't you tell us about your success?" "You cut me off, Mom, remember? You stopped my tuition." "That was just tough love, sweetheart. We knew it would make you stronger. And look, we were right." The revisionist history was breathtaking. "Mom, you haven't called in 5 years." "Well, you never reached out either," she said, suddenly defensive. Then, softening. "Your father has such an exciting opportunity, a biotech startup that could revolutionize diagnostics. He just needs the right investors. You must know so many important people now." "Is that why you're calling?" "Of course not. But family supports family, right? Speaking of which, your father's 60th birthday is next month. The whole medical community will be there. Bring your business partners. The Morrison fellow who invested in you, James Morrison, your father would love to reconnect with him." My blood went cold. They'd done their research. They knew about Morrison. This was planned, calculated. They wanted to use me to get to him. The official invitation arrived by courier 2 days later. Cream cardstock, gold embossing, the works. "Dr. Robert Brooks cordially invites you to celebrate his 60th birthday. Black tie, Ritz-Carlton, San Francisco. 200 of medicine's brightest minds will gather to honor his contributions to diagnostic medicine." A handwritten note was attached. "Madison, bring your business partners. The whole family should be there. Dad." 3 mentions of business partners in one invitation. The subtlety was overwhelming. Sarah called that night, whispering, Madison, you need to know something. They've been telling everyone you're coming, with your investors. Dad's been pitching his biotech idea to anyone who'll listen, saying his daughter's connections will fund it. He's using me to legitimize his pitch? It's worse. He owes money. The last startup failed. He borrowed against the house. Mom doesn't even know how much. He needs 5 million minimum, or they lose everything. Now it made sense. This wasn't about reconciliation, it was about survival. They needed my money, my connections, my success, everything they'd said I'd never achieve. Are you going to go? Sarah asked. I thought about it. 5 years ago, I would have gone running back at the first sign of acceptance. But now? Yes, I said. I'll be there. Madison, please don't let them. Don't worry, I won't come alone. I hung up and immediately called Morrison. How would you like to attend a birthday party? Robert's 60th. I saw the announcement at the hospital. Presumptuous of him to assume I'd attend. He doesn't know you'll be there. He thinks I'm bringing you as my investor. Morrison was quiet for a moment. Then, I've waited 30 years for this moment. Yes, I'll come. Morrison and I met at his office to plan. He pulled out a folder I'd never seen before. Yellowed papers, old research notes, even photos of him and my father as young residents. I kept everything, he said, not for revenge, as a reminder of why I choose integrity. What exactly did he steal? I asked. The foundation for modern diagnostic AI. We were 20 years ahead of our time. Your father took the credit, got the publications, built his career, but he never understood the vision. That's why his current startup is failing. You know about his startup? Morrison smiled. I know everything. I even know who's calling in his debts. Madison, your father is about to lose everything unless he finds $5 million by month's end. That's why they contacted me. Exactly. He plans to use you to get to me, to get to all your investors. Morrison pulled out another document. But here's something interesting. Last week, I acquired the company holding his debts. Your father doesn't know it yet, but I own his financial future. My stomach turned. James, I don't want this to be about revenge. It's not, he said firmly. It's about justice. And more importantly, it's about you setting boundaries. I'll follow your lead entirely, but I think it's time your father faces the consequences of his choices. We spent 2 hours planning. I had my assistant prepare documents for a scholarship fund, $5 million for students whose families didn't support their dreams, the Second Chances Fund, the exact amount my father needed. I bought a new dress for the party, $4,000, more than I'd spent on clothes in my entire life. If I was going to set boundaries, I was going to look powerful doing it. The Ritz-Carlton ballroom was exactly what you'd expect for a prominent doctor's 60th birthday. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, and 200 guests in their finest attire. I stood at the entrance, my hands steady despite the magnitude of the moment. Every head turned when I walked in. The prodigal daughter returns. Whispers rippled through the crowd like wildfire. Is that Madison? The tech millionaire? Robert's daughter? My parents materialized within seconds, as if they'd been watching the door. My father, still commanding in his tuxedo, my mother, elegant in navy blue. They embraced me like we'd seen each other yesterday. Like 5 years hadn't passed in silence. Everyone, our successful daughter is here, my father announced, his voice carrying across the ballroom. Madison, the CEO, come, there are people you must meet. He paraded me through the room, introducing me to every potential investor, every hospital board member, every person with money. My daughter's company is valued at $50 million, he kept saying. She knows all the top VCs in Silicon Valley. My mother clung to my arm, playing the proud parent. We always knew she'd make it. The Brooks genes, you know. Success runs in our family. Dr. Harrison, Dad's colleague, pulled me aside. Your father's been telling us about his biotech venture. Says you're going to help fund it. Family supporting family, right? Before I could respond, a hush fell over the room. James Morrison had arrived. He stood in the doorway, silver-haired and dignified, commanding attention without saying a word. My father's face went white, then red, then white again. "Hello, Robert," Morrison said, his voice carrying perfectly. "Happy birthday. I thought it was time we reconnected." The ballroom felt like it collectively held its breath. Half the guests recognized Morrison, the legendary venture capitalist who transformed Silicon Valley. The other half, the older doctors, remembered a different story. The brilliant resident who'd left medicine after a partnership went wrong. My father recovered first, extending his hand with forced warmth. "James, what a surprise." Morrison shook it briefly. "Madison invited me. As her lead investor and mentor, I couldn't miss celebrating with her family." The word mentor hit my father like a slap. His jaw tightened, but he maintained his smile for the audience. "Of course. Madison's success has been remarkable." "Self-made success," Morrison corrected gently, despite significant obstacles. My mother, sensing danger, tried to intervene. "We're just so proud of her. Always have been." "Really?" Morrison's eyebrow raised. "Because Madison tells me you haven't spoken in 5 years, not since you cut off her tuition for choosing technology over medicine." Guests nearby pretended not to listen while obviously listening. Dr. Harrison looked uncomfortable. Others exchanged knowing glances. Many had heard my father's version of events, how I'd rebelled and would come crawling back. "That's a family matter," my father said stiffly. "Is it? Because you've been telling everyone here that Madison's investors would love your new biotech venture, using her success to legitimize your pitch. That seems very public to me." The tension was electric. My father's carefully constructed narrative was crumbling. The successful doctor with the successful daughter was being exposed as the father who'd abandoned her for choosing her own path. Sarah appeared at my elbow, squeezing my hand in silent support. "It's time," she whispered. "Time for what?" "Time to reveal what this reunion was really about." My father, desperate to regain control, raised his champagne glass. "Everyone, since we're all here, I'd like to share an exciting opportunity. Brooks Biotech is developing revolutionary diagnostic technology that will transform medicine." He launched into his pitch right there, at his own birthday party, with 200 guests as his captive audience. The desperation was palpable. "We're seeking $5 million in Series A funding. With my medical expertise and my daughter's tech connections, it's a guaranteed success." "Madison," he turned to me publicly. "Family supports family, right? Your mother and I supported you for 22 years. Now it's your turn to give back." The audacity was breathtaking. Several guests shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't how these things were done, not in polite society. "Tell us more about this technology," Morrison said innocently. "Is it based on your early research, the work you published 30 years ago?" My father's face flushed. "My research, yes. Groundbreaking work that established my career." "Interesting, because I seem to remember that research differently. Wasn't there a co-author originally, before the publication?" The older doctors in the room exchanged glances. Some remembered. The scandal had been quietly buried, but not forgotten. "Ancient history," my father said dismissively. "Madison, you'll invest, won't you? $5 million is nothing to you now." Every eye turned to me. This was it, the moment of truth. My father had just publicly pressured me to invest $5 million in front of his entire professional network. He was betting I wouldn't dare refuse in front of everyone. He'd bet wrong. I stood up slowly, taking the microphone from the bandstand. "Actually, Dad, I have an announcement of my own." Have you ever had to choose between family approval and your dreams? You're not alone. Share your story in the comments. This community understands what it's like to forge your own path. And if you believe everyone deserves a second chance at their dreams, please subscribe and ring the notification bell. Now, here's where everything changed, in front of 200 witnesses. I held the microphone steady, my voice clear and calm. "Thank you all for being here tonight. I want to thank my parents for teaching me the most valuable lesson of my life. that independence is earned, not given. My father smiled, thinking I was about to cave. 5 years ago, they cut me off for choosing technology over medicine. Not a penny, not a call, not even a birthday card. They taught me that dreams have a price, and I paid it. Every sleepless night in a garage, every rejection, every moment I wanted to give up but didn't. I owe that strength to their absence. The room was dead silent. My mother's face had gone pale. So tonight, in honor of that lesson, I'm announcing the Second Chances Fund. $5 million in scholarships for students whose families don't support their dreams. For every young person told they're not enough, thinking wrong, dreaming too big. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My father's face went from red to purple. $5 million, I continued, looking directly at him. The exact amount you need for your biotech venture, Dad, but this money will go to students who, like me, had to choose between family approval and their authentic path. I pulled out the check, already made out to the fund. This is what family support really looks like. Believing in someone's dreams, not just when they're profitable, but when they're just beginning. Several people started clapping, then more. Soon, half the room was applauding while my parents stood frozen. "Madison," my father hissed into his own microphone, "how dare you embarrass us like this?" "I'm not embarrassing you, Dad. I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference." "You ungrateful child!" My father's mask finally slipped completely. "We gave you life. We raised you. You owe us everything." "I owed you love, Dad, and I gave it unconditionally for 22 years. But you made your choice when you withdrew it the moment I chose my own path." My mother grabbed the microphone. "Madison, please. We're your parents. We made mistakes, but we're family. You can't just abandon us when we need you." "Abandon you?" I kept my voice level, professional. "You mean like you abandoned me when I needed you? When I was sleeping in a garage, eating once a day, did you call? When I graduated with honors, were you there?" The crowd was riveted. This was better than any reality show. Real drama, real stakes, real consequences. Dr. Harrison tried to mediate. "Perhaps this is a conversation for private—" "No," my father interrupted, his desperation showing. "She wants to humiliate us publicly? Fine. Madison, you have no idea what we sacrificed for you. The opportunities I gave up, the research I had to steal." He stopped, realizing what he'd just said. The room collectively gasped. Morrison stepped forward. "Please, Robert, continue. Tell us about the research you had to steal. Tell everyone how you built your career on my work." The older doctors were nodding now. They remembered. The whispers had been true all along. "That's irrelevant," my father shouted. "Madison, you will invest in this company. You owe us that much." "I owe you nothing," I said simply. "But I'll give you the same chance you gave me. Build your company yourself. Bootstrap it. Prove everyone wrong. Isn't that what you told me to do?" Morrison stepped up to the microphone, his presence commanding absolute attention. "Since we're sharing truths tonight, I have one more. Robert, your biotech company doesn't exist anymore. It was liquidated last week." My father's face went white. "What are you talking about?" "I acquired the holding company that owns your debts. Every loan, every mortgage, every borrowed dollar. You've been pitching a company that's already bankrupt, using your daughter's success to attract investors to a fraud." The room erupted. This was beyond scandal. This was potentially criminal. "The board voted to remove you yesterday," Morrison continued calmly. "The letter should arrive Monday. Something about falsified research data. Again. Seems you never learned that stolen foundations eventually crumble." "You did this!" My father pointed at Morrison, then at me. "You both planned this." "No, Robert, you did this. 30 years ago when you stole my research. 5 years ago when you abandoned your daughter. Last month when you tried to use her success to cover your failures. I believe in second chances too, which is why I'm not pressing criminal charges. But your medical license is under review." My mother collapsed into a chair, finally understanding the full scope of their situation. They weren't just broke. My father's entire career was imploding. "Madison," she pleaded, Please, we'll lose everything." "You already lost everything that mattered," I said quietly. "You lost it the day you chose reputation over relationship. Money can be rebuilt. Trust can't." Morrison handed my father an envelope. "My lawyers will be in touch about the terms of the debt. Madison had nothing to do with this. I want that clear. This is between us, Robert. 30 years overdue." I set the microphone down gently and walked over to Sarah, who had tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry you had to see this," I whispered, hugging her tight. "Don't be," she said. "I'm proud of you. Someone needed to stand up to them." I placed the $5 million check on the gift table, right next to the birthday cake. The Second Chances Fund will start accepting applications next month. Any student whose family doesn't support their dreams is eligible. As I turned to leave, 12 different guests approached me. Doctors, lawyers, tech executives, all wanting to contribute to the fund. "I was that kid once," Dr. Martinez said, pressing a business card into my hand. "My parents wanted me to take over the family restaurant. Let me know how I can help." My father stood frozen, watching his carefully constructed world collapse. My mother wept quietly, but not for the right reasons. She was crying for the money, the status, the house they'd lose, not for the daughter they'd already lost. "My door is open," I said to them, loud enough for everyone to hear. "When you're ready to be family, not investors. When you can love me without a price tag attached. But until then, this is goodbye." Morrison followed me out, placing a protective hand on my shoulder. "You did the right thing." "Did I? They're going to lose everything." "They lost everything 5 years ago when they lost you. The money is just catching up to that reality." As we walked through the lobby, my phone buzzed with notifications. Videos of the confrontation were already spreading on social media. By morning, it would be everywhere. But I wasn't ashamed. For the first time in my life, I felt completely, authentically free. By morning, the video had 3 million views. "CEO exposes parents' betrayal at birthday party" trended on Twitter. LinkedIn exploded with think pieces about family, boundaries, and professional ethics. My inbox filled with 2 types of messages: support from people who'd lived similar stories, and criticism from those who thought family should forgive everything. The real-world consequences came swift and harsh. My father was suspended from the hospital pending investigation. 3 decades of buried complaints suddenly surfaced. My mother was quietly removed from her charity boards. Nobody wanted the scandal attached to their fundraising. But the most unexpected outcome? My company received over 100 job applications from what we started calling family rebels. Brilliant people who'd been told their dreams weren't valid. Our head of HR showed me the stack. "These are some of the best candidates we've ever seen. Pain builds resilience, apparently." Sarah called me a week later. "I quit my residency." "What?" "Sarah, no! Don't throw away your career because of—" "I'm not throwing it away. I'm choosing it. For the first time, I'm choosing what I want, not what they want." Morrison offered me a position at one of his portfolio companies, medical technology, the best of both worlds. The Second Chances Fund received over 10 million in additional donations within a month. Tech billionaires, doctors who'd been my father's rivals, even ordinary people who'd saved for years, all wanted to support students whose families didn't believe in them. My parents' lawyer sent a cease and desist letter, claiming emotional damages and deliberate sabotage. Morrison's legal team responded with a single line: "Truth is an absolute defense." The house in Presidio Heights went on the market. The Mercedes disappeared. The country club membership canceled. For the first time in their lives, my parents faced actual consequences. 6 months later, I stood at the podium at Stanford, addressing the first 50 recipients of the Second Chances Fund. Kids who'd been disowned for choosing art over accounting, technology over tradition, their truth over their parents' plans. "Success isn't revenge," I told them. "It's indifference. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's building a life so full that the absence doesn't echo anymore." Sarah sat in the front row, now my company's COO. She'd turned out to be brilliant at operations, bringing the same precision from medicine to business. Morrison sat beside her, the proud surrogate father neither of us had asked for, but both desperately needed. My mother had sent one email last month. "I'm sorry. Your father was wrong. I was wrong. But surely you can forgive us. We're struggling, Madison. The apartment is small. The jobs pay nothing. This isn't who we are." I'd written back once. "This is exactly who you are. The money just hidden it." The investigation into my father concluded with his medical license revoked. 30 years of falsified research, stolen credit, and ethical violations had finally caught up. He worked at a urgent care clinic now, making a tenth of his previous salary. But here's the thing about boundaries. They're not walls. They're doors with locks you control. Maybe someday they'll knock with genuine remorse, not financial desperation. Maybe they'll learn to love me without a balance sheet attached. Maybe. Until then, I had a family. Morrison, Sarah, my team, and now these 50 students who understood that sometimes the price of authenticity is everything you thought you needed. Your dreams are valid, I told them, concluding my speech. Even if, especially if, your family doesn't see it yet. Boundaries aren't about punishment, they're about peace. This lesson took me 5 years to learn, and about 5 seconds to implement once I understood it. Family doesn't automatically deserve access to your success, especially when they weren't there for your struggle. Love shouldn't come with conditions. It shouldn't require a medical degree or a certain bank balance. The moment someone says, "I'll love you if," they're not talking about love, they're negotiating a transaction. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. I've forgiven my parents, not for them, but for me. Carrying anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. But forgiveness doesn't mean removing boundaries. You can forgive someone and still keep them at distance. You can wish them well from afar. The most powerful thing about boundaries is that they're not walls. They're doors with locks you control. My parents could walk through that door anytime. The price of admission? Genuine remorse, acknowledgement of harm, love without strings attached. So far, they're still trying to pick the lock with guilt, manipulation, and lawyers. Supporting others who face what you faced isn't revenge, it's redemption. Every scholarship recipient who emails me about their first job, their graduation, their dreams coming true, that's the real wealth. My parents measured success in dollars and degrees. I measure it in lives changed. "But they're your parents," people still say. Yes, they are. And I'm their daughter. But being related doesn't mean being relatable. DNA doesn't guarantee decency. Blood doesn't buy blind loyalty. The strongest families are the ones you choose, not the ones you're born into. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is love someone from a distance that keeps you both safe. Today, MindBridge AI is preparing for IPO. Valued at $200 million, we've helped over 100,000 people get mental health support before crisis points. Morrison serves as board chairman, the mentor who became the father I chose. Sarah runs operations with the same brilliance she would have brought to medicine, just applied differently. The Second Chances Fund has given out 200 scholarships. Some recipients have already graduated, started companies, created art, built lives their families said were impossible. They send me updates, photos, gratitude I don't need but treasure anyway. My parents? Still no contact. Well, not exactly. Last week, my mother sent another message. "Congratulations on the IPO announcement. I'm sorry for everything. Your father is too proud to say it, but he's sorry too. We're different now, humbled. We just want our daughter back. P.S. If you have any positions open at your company," there it was. Even in apology, the ask. Even in humility, the hustle. Some people change. Some people just change tactics. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. They don't want their daughter back. They want their daughter's success back. There's a difference, and I've learned to see it. My house in Palo Alto has become a sanctuary for orphans by choice, successful people whose families couldn't love them as they are. We have dinners every Sunday. Morrison brings wine. Sarah brings dessert. We built the family we needed, not the one we were given. Success really is the best response to doubt. Not because it proves them wrong, but because it proves you right. Right to trust yourself. Right to choose your path. Right to demand love without conditions. The IPO will make me wealthy beyond my parents' wildest dreams. But the real fortune? The freedom to never need their approval again. This story isn't about revenge. It never was. It's about the radical act of choosing yourself when everyone else demands you choose them. It's about learning that no is a complete sentence, that boundaries aren't cruel, and that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go. If you're reading this while sleeping in your friend's garage, eating ramen for the third day straight, holding a dream your family calls stupid, this is for you. Your dreams are valid, even if your family doesn't see it yet. Your path is legitimate, even if it's not the one they mapped out. Your success will come, and when it does, you get to decide who deserves to celebrate it with you. To my parents, if you ever read this, my door is still open, but it opens to family, not investors. It opens to love, not leverage. It opens to parents who can be proud of their daughter, the CEO, the dropout, the failure, and the success, all versions equally. When you can love all of me, not just the profitable parts, you know where to find me. To everyone else, family isn't about blood. It's about belief. The people who show up when you're nobody are the ones who deserve to celebrate when you're somebody. Everyone else is just audience. Your dreams matter. Your boundaries matter. You matter. Not because of what you achieve, but because of who you are. And who you are is enough, even if they can't see it yet. What dream are you pursuing that your family doesn't understand? What boundary do you need to set? What chosen family has believed in you when your blood family couldn't? Share your story below. This community understands. If this story touched you, please share it with someone who needs to hear that their dreams matter. Subscribe for more stories about setting boundaries and living authentically. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next story. And remember, sometimes the family you choose believes in you more than the family you're born into. What dream are you pursuing despite the doubts? Let me know in the comments below.